So, all right, here's we're on another episode of Reasonably Hyped. Hello, internet. I'm your host, Carlos Macias, and I'm here with my co-host, as per usual, Deo Blas. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Hey, thanks, Carlos, for having me.
Hey, on this Reasonably Hyped is people are actually pretty hyped about all these games that are selling online. We got, I have one example a few days ago. It was a Legend of Zelda. I believe it was the original sealed copy of. I'm assuming it's gonna be the gold cartridge, right? Because these things, I mean, come on, it
Yeah,
sold for $870,000. A sealed copy of the Legend of Zelda.
with
Uh,
the 5 screws. It has to have 5 screws in the back. That's what
Oh,
makes it more valuable.
okay. I feel like some of the nostalgia. I saw a couple takes, but we'll let you take over in a bit. But I saw some of it is the nostalgia and the fact that these contemporary millionaires, right? I would assume, kind of
Mm.
flood the market. It's like my memories, my whatever. So the big one, the latest one is the Super Mario 64 one, a sealed copy, which sold for $1.56 million. What do you think, man? You'll take it over, Dale. Learn me on some of this stuff, man. What are your
It's
thoughts?
it's fucking ridiculous. Like that astronomical number for a game that is 20 plus years old
Mm,
and has been reproduced and it can be easily downloaded and
yeah.
has been emulated so many times. Like you could go to Best Buy right now and buy a three game compilation with it in it, a
Yeah,
better
yeah, yeah.
version
The
of it.
the, the Super Mario
The
All Stars, right? Or
the
Super
All
Mario
Stars
3D All
3D
Stars or whatever.
3D
Yeah.
All Stars
Mm-hmm.
on for the Switch, right?
Yeah.
$35 you could have the
Mm,
game. So like the value of $1.5 million, that valuation for that specific copy of that game has nothing to do with the game itself.
yeah.
And that's total bullshit.
What's
How
the
that is right now.
controversy here? And see, I saw some of the things I saw on the internet was there's always these Twitter beefs. There's no nuance on there, so let's bring a little nuance to it. I hope we can do that here on Reasonably Hyped. But one of the things I was seeing that I was seeing the blowback to what I'm assuming people were talking about. This is kind of a money laundering scheme,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
people were thinking, which to me, it's always like Occam's razor for me, is that somebody was like, yeah, people are talking about money laundering and that kind of thing. It's like the simpler thing might be the explanation, which I mentioned a little earlier, was the fact that it's like, I think it's some of these people are rich and it hits them with that nostalgia and they're like, I want a sealed copy of Super Mario 64. I know I can get the 3-pack, well, which are a little more limited.
True. Very true.
So I feel like that's it. There's too many rich people, and it's like, let's quick, and people on the other side selling what they get it highly rated, I'm assuming, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, I'm selling it for 1.5, man. Do you want it or not? But I want, throw me some smoke. I want to see. I
I
want to
don't
hear the other
see.
side of it.
I don't support that because like,
Okay.
why would you spend so much more like astronomical amounts of money when you get the same thing or a better thing for
Mm-hmm.
significantly less?
Yeah.
So the reason why I think a lot of people believe that it's money laundering is because it's happened before. So
Oh,
it's
okay,
happened.
okay.
Yeah. So if you follow like fine art sales and auctions and that type of thing, it's happened there. It happens there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like one of a fine examples is that if you go to like a contemporary art or like a modern art
Mm-hmm.
like gallery or something like that
Yeah.
for someone that's like local, right? They don't sell as much, even though their technique and their style might be even the same as someone from like across the world.
Yeah.
Their valuation might not be the same depending on how the art community like favors one over the other. So it's a little bit political
Okay.
in
Yeah,
that kind
which
of
which right, it's right to assume that, right? That it's like it's
right.
shenanigans, right? But
Yeah,
and I'll let you continue. But now, right now that you were saying is like when you pay for these things, you're not necessarily paying for the experience of playing the
not at
game,
all.
right? You're
No,
paying for
no.
this minted copy 9.6. I don't know the numbers, so I'm sorry if I'm wrong on this and you could correct me. Let's
Yeah.
say a
Well,
9.7, 9.8. I want it because
mhm.
it's so minty and it's so fresh, and they might not even open it, right? It's the,
Yeah, they won't.
yeah.
They won't because of that intrinsic value that they purchased this commodity for. They're never gonna open it. They're never gonna enjoy it inside of an N64 or whatever
Yeah.
system they got it for. They only want to hold it to hold value. Like
Yeah.
what I've been seeing lately in the retro uh, gaming collection community is that a lot of those like people that collect comic books
Yeah.
and like coins.
Mm.
So when the recession hit, or when COVID hit, basically, a lot right before that, a lot of them were trading in all their super valuable gold, comic books, and other things, and started to buy up like super rare games. Like we're talking
Mm.
about like Stadia events, like
Yeah.
NES games that were normally like around like $10,000. And then when all that stuff, when when the retro market started to explode, like last year or around this time,
Yeah.
all that stuff like doubled in price. So it's really difficult to find like normal like GameCube games for some reason, or like
Yeah.
N64 games. Like those are crazy. Or Sega Saturn. Sega Saturn is crazy, insane right now, to the point
Yeah.
of unaffordability. Same thing with
Yeah,
Dreamcast.
and it's kind of like those like NRTs, right? It's like
Yeah,
what it's
NFTs,
something
NFTs. Yeah,
it's something you're holding.
yeah,
Which the NRT, sorry if I said the wrong
NFTs,
thing, NFTs.
NFTs.
And those
Yeah,
are even weirder, right? You're like holding a receipt because
right. So
obviously you can
that's what they
screenshot
want to
it or
convert
video
it to.
record or
Yeah.
whatever,
But
right?
then the NFT market like fell off the face of the map like 3 months ago.
Yeah,
So then they're like, okay, well we have to put our value in somewhere else. And the main reason I think they do it is for tax purposes. Because when you start moving money
possibly.
from one commodity to a different one, you get taxed a lot of the time for
Yeah,
it. So if you just have it in like a certain item, which holds its value very well for a long time piece of time, like an
yeah,
NFT was supposed to, then they'll hold on to it.
yeah.
So
Which I don't know if you're a fan of this show, but this they played on this on an episode of Billions. I don't know if you watched
oh
that
no, I
show.
have to catch.
I don't
I
want to
have to catch.
spoil it, but
Man,
there is sort of
yeah.
that what you're referring to, like for tax purposes, I'm holding
Hmm.
this art
Yeah.
piece. So you
They
know
do it
what?
with wine. Well, like
Yeah,
drinking wine too. Like
yeah.
they do that with wine. It's wine bottles. It's crazy.
I think what it is you get into these amounts of money. We're talking millions of dollars now, right?
Hmm.
And you get into these kind of weird things like you were saying, like tax purposes, or like let me put some money here and let me just stash it here, let me just store it here, and then when I need it I can kind of transfer it or move it around or sell it or whatever the case might be. But I think some of it is it's probably like the cool factor, I guess, and kind of
Yeah.
the fact that
Yeah.
there are people that are entering their 30s, their 40s, and they have good money, right? Like they whatever it is, and they're like, I'm gonna buy this and I want to buy this, I don't care what it costs, I'll pay anything. Plus there's a
That's
tax
definitely a thing.
benefit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Uh, where does the well, this one looks a little funny. Can you point to anything specifically, possibly, that makes this one look a little funny as far as the validity or kind of like the money laundering thing, or is it really just referencing other things that have been seen in the art world, or is there something specific to this Mario
I
64
can't.
sealed copy?
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I can't
Uh-huh.
say specifically, but the
Yeah.
problem is that it's $1.4 billion, Carlos. Who's gonna pay
Uh-huh.
like
Uh-huh.
in exchange $1.4 million for
Yeah.
that thing, other than like a crazy millionaire
That's the thing, right? That's the thing. There's a
just
crazy
access to
millionaire,
it.
just like
Yeah.
the Charizard guy or whatever. The guy
Hmm.
that was just
Hmm.
fighting a couple weeks ago, Paul or Jake Paul or something like that. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't follow
Oh,
all the
with the
popular guys.
card.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
card with them
Hmm.
or whatever. So it is one of those weird things, and I always feel like. I don't know if I think I said it on the podcast before, but I did have almost a whole collection of the original Pokemon series, missing like two.
Oh.
I had
Oh,
Charizard,
damn.
I had Venusaur, the Blastoise, and all this stuff. And at some point, my little brothers got into it. Sure, it's my fault. I shouldn't have let
Oh,
that accessible.
what?
They got into that, where you hold the cards or whatever. They got in there and just flipped them around, threw them all over the room, probably
Oh
ripped up a couple
no.
of it. I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm not feeling this anymore. I
You
doubt.
probably sell that for $2 million now.
It's
Swear to
very
God.
upsetting, man. It's very I know I'm missing two, right? But I could have found the two, right, to complete the
Yeah.
collection or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm thinking of like, but mine's weren't like graded, and I don't think they would have been graded super high either, but they would have been worth something, right? Maybe I could have
Yeah.
gotten 1.56. That would have been nice. But yeah, man, do we see this stopping anytime soon, as far as like all this, like, it's getting
I
crazy, dude. It's getting
it
crazy.
I have no idea. To be completely
Yeah.
honest, I have no idea. Mainly because like the market is so volatile every single
Yeah.
time. If you look at like a lot of money markets, like with like
Yeah.
Bitcoin and all Dogecoin and all those crypto and
Yeah.
art and everything, it's so volatile that it could go anyway. It
Which
could go
is
with whatever the winds go.
it's crazy that we've gotten to this point where we're talking $1.5 million. Whereas the last game I remember that was like a big deal, it was so expensive, was Panzer Dragoon Saga. That was
Yeah.
2,000 or 3,000 or
That was like
whatever.
$2,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that thing is
Which
crazy. at this
Yeah,
point.
but see, the thing is, like, that's kind of worth it, like in the game market, because so
Yeah.
my fear is that because that Mario sold for the Mario 64 sold for 1.5 million dollars, it set a precedent to expect that all wrapped up new mint Mario
Yeah.
64 should be 1.5 million dollars,
Yeah.
which is dumb. It's not. But like it
Yeah,
sets
as great of a
because
game it is. It's one of my
as
favorite
great as
Mario
as
3D games,
historic
but yeah.
of a game it is, it's
Yeah.
not worth it. So
Yeah.
what I hate is that like other smaller treasures that are lesser known, like Panzer Dragoon Saga, if
Yeah.
someone starts selling that for like around like 20 G's, I'd be like, hell
I
no!
gotta
Like
grab one,
you
dude,
can't
before
find,
it gets to
yeah,
that point.
you have
Yeah.
to, because you can't find it anywhere else. You can't
Yeah.
download it like for legit, like
Yeah.
anywhere else, unless they do a remake or remaster, by Sega,
Yeah.
or you burn it, and that's a whole other.
Well, it's a whole questionable thing, right?
Yeah, it's always
But it's unfortunate because I've actually considered like buying a Saturn, and even when you buy that thing, is it working? Is it in working condition?
yeah.
I don't know. It's been so long. I've considered Panzer Dragoon Saga because Skies of Arcadia is one of my favorite games of all time,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's kind of like the spiritual successor to Panzer
same.
Dragoon
Yeah,
Saga,
I
right? I think
love
it
that
might have been
game.
the
Yeah,
same team or whatever.
yeah.
And I got look, I got Electronic Gaming Monthly to thank. We can link. Who follows us? Shu maybe no or
It's Che.
Che. But we'll
Che.
link them to this. Che, thank you because look, I bought and I responded to Shu on a tweet
Yeah, she was
earlier.
there too. Yeah, yeah.
And I told them, oh yeah, you guys, the first issue I got from you guys was a PlayStation 2 edition. Thank you for selling me on a Dreamcast because that issue was like a Dreamcast. Like it's like no, the Dreamcast is really excellent. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, it kind of sucks. It is one. It's one of those what is it? A high tide raises all boats or whatever, right? Kind of thing, right? Where
Yeah.
you're thinking 1.5 and people are like, well, yeah, this is Dragoon Saga game. It's historically or whatever. We need
Rare,
this
right.
super rare. Sure, I'll pay 20,000. That's a good investment. It's like, but I'm just trying to play it. I'm just really just trying to play it. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Thank you guys again for joining us on Reasonably Hyped. And we'll hope we'll keep it smoky for next time. Thank you for joining me again,
Thanks, Carlos.
Deo. See you guys next time.